A lot of tankers know this situation. You hit the brakes, and in the sight, it's either dirt or sky. The gun is pointing anywhere except at the enemy. Tanks with stabilizers are a whole different story. But have you ever wondered how they actually work? The first stabilization devices were shoulder rests, basically like rifle stocks. Pressing their shoulder or chest firmly into the rest, the gunner could hold the gun steady against oscillations. This worked thanks to precise balancing of the barrel and breech. The limit of stabilization on those tanks literally rested on a human's physical ability. As early as the beginning of World War II, the U.S. fielded serial single-plane stabilizers made by Westinghouse. They were based on mechanical gyroscopes and hydraulics. Remember the law of conservation of angular momentum from physics class? A heavy rotor spinning at high speed tends to keep its orientation in space. That property is exactly what helps stabilize the gun. As soon as the tank tilts, the gyro sensors detect the deviation and send a signal to the aiming system. The correction happens almost instantly, in fractions of a second. Those first stabilizers were single-plane. They worked only in elevation and didn't account for turret traverse. The system's effectiveness dropped as speed increased. Once the tank went faster than about 20 kilometers per hour, the automation simply couldn't keep up with the oscillations. On top of that, the device was unreliable, bulky, and heavy, on the order of a few dozen kilograms, and about the size of a decent suitcase. Over time, the mechanisms got better, but the core principles didn't change. Post-war stabilizers became faster and more accurate, smoother in operation, and took up less space. But the key breakthrough was two-plane stabilization. Horizontal stabilization became possible thanks to additional gyros. For example, the T-55A uses 4 rotors, 2 per plane. In each pair, one gyro measures the deflection angle and the other measures angular rate. To make that work, the flywheels are mounted strictly perpendicular to each other. In the 1960s, engineers even tried stabilizing oscillating turrets, but real success came only on a few models that never became widespread. The Achilles heel of the mid-20th century stabilizers was moving parts. They limited how small and light the systems could be, and quickly wore out. The next stage was a complete break from traditional mechanics. Laser and fiber optic gyros appeared based on the Sagnac effect. Funny enough, Georges Sagnac described it back in 1913, several years before the first tank even appeared. So what's the idea? The principle is simple. Inside such a gyro, 2 light beams travel around a closed loop in opposite directions. In laser designs, the loop is a mirrored triangle or square. In fiber optic ones, it's a coil of optical fiber. While the system is stationary, the beams return to the detector at the same time. But once the gyro rotates, one beam finishes earlier than the other. Of course, nobody stands there with a stopwatch. This is detected as a phase shift. But you're not here for a lecture on interference, right? So we won't dive into the weeds, and we invite the experts to jump into the comments. Thanks in advance. By the way, your smartphone and the most modern tank stabilizers have something in common: micro gyros etched onto a silicon chip. Voltage applied to them creates vibrations that are extremely sensitive to rotation due to the Coriolis effect. A phone can use a dozen of these elements. That's how tiny they are. That said, MEMS gyros aren't accurate enough to serve as the backbone of a tank stabilization system. Today, they're only occasionally used in combination with fiber optic gyros. In 80 years, stabilizers have gone from bulky, heavy boxes to chips smaller than a grain of rice. Tell us in the comments what else you'd like to learn about. And stay stable.